The Florida classic would be Shone on Deck. And then I did Trina's $1 Million Girl. I did another track on that album, Showing Out. Did a lot of records in the time period that you and I were real hot. Was right before social media. So what's interesting is now I'm going back to records that I've got 2 Chainz on, 3 records that Rick Ross is on, Hooks on, Busta Rhymes, Pleasure P, Jason Derulo. Like, I'm sure these guys don't even know they're on these records because it didn't even have time to circle back to them. So now I'm about to put a lot of these records out on Spotify because they really weren't even correctly distributed. Back in those days, they didn't have the United Masters and all these other ones now that distribute so easily. So, man, I've worked with so many artists, probably like 60 plus industry artists.
That's what's up, man. So what's some of the most known records that they might know that you produce? Like name a couple of them. Like
definitely would be Shone on Deck and $1 Million Girl. I think those are like everywhere I go when I tell people Shone on Deck, especially in the South, like they love that record. Like I still listen to it in the car. Like once a week, twice a week, I still hear that record. Every time I go to the club and they play that Juke set, the Grind Mode, I'm So High, it's always in there. So I think that one, as weird as it is, like I didn't collect the most royalties on that one, but I think that record stamped me more than anything. Unfortunately though, like that stamp of that like Juke sound is not really the sound that like I really produce. So it also kind of like boxed me for a while. And then $1 Million Girl, because it had Diddy on it, you know, like that record again was really like outside the box of my sound too. So it was interesting, like some of the records that caught weren't even like the sound that I really mainly produced. I felt like some of those beats were like my weakest records, honestly. Like when Shone on Deck came out, I was like, yeah, it was an okay record, but they started working it so hard and then I got like what they did with the record. It took me a second, honestly.
Yeah. And for the people that don't know whose records those was, who was those records? Like who was the artist?
It was Busta Free and Yak, and they were under surveillance. Now, you know, Busta Free was just on the Boogie record with Ball Greasy and Case One. Shout out to those boys, because they've been doing this for a minute, and they're all hot, and they, you know, and Greasy especially, man. This dude's been around since Shone on Deck was around, and he like resurfaced, rebranded. The dude is, you know, I got respect for him for sure.
Most def. And then the other record, the $1 Million Girl.
Bro, that was Trina, Diddy, and Carrie Hilson. And then there was a lot of hands to touch. It's crazy when you look on BMI and you look at all the publishers, the writers. When I looked on it the other day, going over it with the publishing company, it was like something like 11, 12 people on that record. For publishing, for all, like Mario Winans touched that record. A bunch of people touched that record. Like when I looked at the writer's credits and all that, I was like, oh my God. Different person for the hook, different person for the, you know, the verses. Like,
I was just looking at all the splits, like, man, there's like 8, 9 people on this thing.
Yeah, and it gives you respect for like the A&Rs and the people who really do the business correctly, because it's like, you know, you do records with artists and then when you try to send them the split sheets, they go missing.
Right.
And it's like, that to me in itself is ridiculous. It's like,
yeah.
How are we gonna get paid on this? Because right now, like all the distribution services now, you can't even submit a record without clearing. They all do like online split sheets, like to okay it. Like you have to it sends them an email. If they don't sign it, you're screwed. So it's like you just did a record for nothing. I can't even put it out anymore. Like the better ones are starting to do that now for good reason, because they're distributing a record and then somebody comes back and claims I had 60% and it really should have been 50. So I ran into that issue so often that I just got to the point where I stopped wanting to work with a lot of different artists, and I'll tell them up front now, if we can't like get the royalties done up front, I have a publishing deal. It's useless to me.
Right.
It's useless.
Yeah, it's annoying as hell, man, when it comes to like working with artists and shit get weird when you start talking about split sheets, but you know, this is the business, you know, we ain't doing this for fun, you feel me? This ain't...
It's not a hobby.
Right.
You know, I feel like when I start presenting split sheets, it's like the artists who start getting crazy about it are clearly the artists that just don't know the business of the music. So they could be as hot as they want to be, but at the end of the day, if you don't understand the business, you're not going to make money, and business is money, you know? So when I send them that stuff, they act like I'm sending them a contract. I'm like, bro, this is just us agreeing that you own it, I own it, so I can actually do something with it.
Right. This music business talk right here, you feel me?
Yep.
So for all y'all that don't know, all y'all artists, producers, writers, anybody in the music industry, you need to do split sheets. What is a split sheet? You can go to songsplit.com. That's like one example. But basically it allows you to, once you guys agree on what percentages go to who, you know, how much he get, I get, whoever's involved in the song, you can put it down, write the percentages down, and then it'll allow everyone to agree on that, and then it becomes basically an agreement.
Yeah, and what I used to do, and like honestly, it doesn't
so
even have to be.
I don't want to cut you off. I'm gonna be making some beats here while you talking.
Perfect.
So don't mind.
Because I'm a
me.
talker, so
Go ahead. So explain what you was telling them.
So